biryoshye nkabyo. Muri smartphone yawe urayishakira muri Play Store cyangwa App Store, andikamo RBA ushakishe, wahageze. Ishimire application ya RBA, aho usanga amakuru ndetse ukanahasanga radiyo zose za RBA, amakuru y'urukundo, amakuru ya siporo, ay'imyidagaduro. Application ya RBA urayisanga kuri
Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to this edition of the news in English on Rwanda Television. My name is Serge Nhore. As always, we'll begin with the headlines. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has urged the United Nations Human Rights Council to take a stand against the hate speech and targeted attacks of the Tutsi and those perceived to be Tutsi in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The commandants of military command and staff colleges from Rwanda, Libya and Tanzania have convened for the African Conference of Commandants Troika meeting. And on the international scene, the US and Belarus are reportedly negotiating a deal for the release of a significant number of political prisoners in Belarus. Now the details. Thank you again for taking the time to join us. I'll be sitting in for Olivier Nete for this edition. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Olivier Nduhungire, has urged the United Nations Human Rights Council to take a stand against hate speech and targeted attacks on Tutsi and those perceived as Tutsi in the DRC. He emphasized that such attacks continue to threaten security in the Great Lakes region and called for decisive action to address these human rights violations. We have the details on that.
Addressing delegates at the United Nations Human Rights Council, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Olivier Nduhungire, condemned the ongoing atrocities driven by ethnic hatred in the region, emphasizing the urgent need to combat hate speech and discrimination.
In the Great Lakes region of Africa, for example, the cancer of violent ethnic extremism and genocide ideology has once again re-emerged. Communities continue to be targeted for who they are, how they look, or even which language they speak, which is a grim reminder of the horrors witnessed during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. In Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, hate speech, persecution, lynching, and even acts of cannibalism against Congolese Tutsi have become distressingly commonplace.
He identified these activities as occurring in various parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Burundi.
These government-sponsored crimes against humanity are witnessed throughout the DRC. In South Kivu, Tutsi communities known as the Banyamulenge are bombed in Minembwe by government forces and are subject to unprecedented persecutions in different cities such as Uvira. In Bujumbura, Burundi, they are even rounded up like in the old days and taken to a known destination. In Kinshasa, Congolese, Tutsi, and even Swahili speakers are persecuted and lynched in broad daylight, while in Ituri, up north, far away from the Rwanda's border, the Hema ethnic group is being slaughtered by the Codeco militia allied to the DRC government and the Islamic State-backed ADF in total impunity.
Minister Olivier Nduhungirehe stated that hate speech targeting Tutsi is being promoted by the leadership and noted that this is not the first time such rhetoric has emerged in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Kinshasa's reckless ethnic politics has created a fertile ground for systematic human rights abuses. Armed groups, including the FDLR, genocidal militia, and the Wazalendo, often bolstered by the complicity of Burundian forces, have perpetrated grave violations against Congolese Tutsi and other vulnerable communities.
He explained that in the Democratic Republic of Congo, hate speech has become as a political tool, citing examples of politicians across different eras who have incited hostility against Tutsi. These include MP Justin Bitakwira, a close associate of President Tshisekedi, and former Vice President and Foreign Affairs Minister Abdoulaye Yerodia, who in 1998 stated that the Tutsi would meet the same fate as the Jews in the Second World War. Minister Nduhungirehe urged the committee to take action and not remain passive while people are being targeted and killed because of their ethnicity. He pointed to incidents such as the killings of the Banyamulenge in Minembwe and the burning of over 300 Tutsi homes in Nuro Masisi by pro-government groups.
In light of this worrying situation, Rwanda calls on the Human Rights Council to take immediate and decisive action to halt these persecutions. The suffering of these people cannot be tolerated any longer. Ethnic politics has no place in our region. As its name indicates, we hope that the recently established fact-finding mission on DRC will conduct impartial investigations into these abuses based on facts, the abuses which are currently being politicized by the DRC government with the support of countries and organizations holding vested interests in the region.
Minister Nduhungirehe noted that lasting peace in the region requires for the conflict in the DRC to be resolved at its roots. He called for all Congolese citizens to have equal rights and be equally protected.
Experts in international affairs assert that while Africa continues to seek a lasting solution to the security issues in the eastern DRC, the Kinshasa government remains indifferent, which is greatly hindering the process. This is after the appointment of new mediators in these efforts. William Evans Mutabazi with the details.
On the
24th of this month, the East African Community and the Southern African Development Community SADC appointed new mediators for the ongoing security crisis in Eastern Congo. The mediators include Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria, Uhuru Kenyatta, former president of Kenya, and Hailemariam, former prime minister of Ethiopia. Among those who believe this team will deliver positive results if effectively utilized is General Retired James Kabarebe, Minister of State for Regional Cooperation in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Bongeyemo Perezida Obasanjo, wari Perezida wa Nigeria.
New on the team is former President of Nigeria Obasanjo and his son, while Uhuru remained. If these three work to getting to the root cause of the security issues in Eastern Congo, we are positive it will give good results. This is not Obasanjo's first role as mediator for the security issues in Eastern Congo. He was appointed by former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon as his special envoy on the Great Lakes region, where he negotiated between the Congolese government and the CNDP rebel group in 2008. Uhuru Kenyatta has also been a mediator between the Congolese government and various armed groups during the Nairobi talks, as well as the Rwanda discussions aimed at resolving tensions between Congo and Rwanda. Analysts Dr. Mref Alphonse, a university lecturer and an international expert, alongside Honorable Mukabalisa, argue that without a political will from Eastern Congo, the country will continue to be a source of insecurity in the region.
I think international community has never had interest in resolving the conflict in Eastern DRC. Starting from the creation of MONUC, which turned into MONUSCO, their mandate was very clear. Among other things, it included the dismantling of the FDLR. They very well know that all the previous conflicts have been, to a significant extent, related to the threats FDLR posed to Rwanda. So it is not something that the international community is not aware of. But if you assess, you realize that probably there are so many interests that are involved by keeping Eastern DRC in a state of conflict. Because all times we've seen Rwanda trying to have good relationship with the DRC and taking some steps to deal with this issue. There have been some interferences from internal actors, but mainly external. All the time we have people have questioned whether MONUSCO's mandate is going to be renewed or not. We have seen some sort of conflicts coming up to justify why their mandate needs to be renewed. There are so many actors that benefit from the situation of armed conflicts. The humanitarian actors, those who benefit from the humanitarian support that accompanies the humanitarian crisis that happens in situations of armed conflict. So all those actors, leave alone those who smuggle weapons, those who smuggle minerals, all those that benefit through chaos, might be having powerful interests that have gone into so many actors' decision-making process that they have abstracted those who are supposed to be taking proper decisions and made them really focus on what is not the right decisions.
A lasting solution lies in the ability to address the root causes of the problem by evaluating the actual cause. There will not be a solution if the problem is not addressed from the root causes. For long, Congo government has sought other measures except peaceful dialogue with all concerned parties. As Rwandans and Africans, we shall not stop advocating for dialogue and a political solution as opposed to any other alternative.
The continued occupation of various territories and cities in both Kivu provinces by M23 has prompted various African organizations to convene to find a sustainable solution to the security problems in the Eastern Congo. The M23 group insists it is fighting for its rights, while the Congolese government is reluctant to engage in a dialogue that could provide a solution. Council Alois Mutabingwa predicts that as long as external forces continue to place blame for Congo's issues on Rwanda, no real progress will be made. The provisions in the international law to punish are more justifiable in Kinshasa than they are in Kigali. However, there are people that are so invested in diverting the truth, but the truth will always remain. Another amazing thing is how a country fails politically, loses a war, and also fails at democracy. This is unheard of. It is one government failing all through, yet Western powers only care about their mineral interests at the cost of humanity. The Democratic Republic of Congo has for long refused to engage in talks with M23, but instead focused on lobbying for sanctions against Rwanda. Meanwhile, Rwanda asserts the threats of sanctions will not provide a lasting solution to this long-standing issue, especially as the Congolese government collaborates with the FDLR terrorist group to undermine Rwanda's security. William Evans, RwandaTV News.
Major General Yusuf Al-Haidi, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Jordan Armed Forces, has visited the Rwanda Defense Force headquarters in Kimihurura, where he was received by the RDF Chief of Defense Staff, General M.K. Mubarak. He also took the opportunity to pay a courtesy call on the Minister of Defense, Honorable Juvenal Mariza Munda. Their discussions focused on reviewing and enhancing bilateral cooperation between the defense forces of their countries. Now, as we noted in the headlines, the commandants of the military command and staff colleges from Rwanda, Libya, and Tanzania have convened at the Rwanda Defense Force Command and Staff College, Nyakinama, in Musanze District for the African Conference of Commandants Troika meeting. The meeting was aimed at preparing for the 19th African Conference of Commandants, which is scheduled for November this year, to discuss ways of enhancing military professionalism in Africa through education, training, and development of officers. The meeting was officially opened by Brigadier General Andrew Nyamvumba, the commandant of the Rwanda Defense Force Command and Staff College and current chairman of ACOC, and attended by Major General Stephen Mukandi, the commandant of the Command and Staff College of Tanzania, and Air Commodore Nouri Ahmed, the commandant of the Libyan Command and Staff College, with their accompanying delegations. In his remarks, Brigadier General Nyamvumba underscored the importance of cooperation in military training and education, noting it as a paramount avenue in addressing security challenges across the African continent and beyond. The 19th African Conference of Commandants will bring together commandants of defense colleges from Algeria, Botswana, Burundi, Cameroon, Ethiopia, Ivory Coast, Guinea-Conakry, Kenya, Malawi, Morocco, Namibia, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Togo, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Angola, South Africa, Nigeria, Sudan, and Ghana, with the Troika members, which are Rwanda, Libya, and Tanzania. Now to business and technology matters, and the ICT Chambers introduced a digital talent program aimed at nurturing young talent in technology. We have the details with William Evans Mutawazi.
Launched at Club Rafiki in Nyamirambo, the program is expected to initially host around 100 participants. Over the next 3 years, it aims to equip 20,000 young people with technological skills across 15 centers nationwide.
On
my part, I am excited about this project because it will particularly help me gain more technological skills. I have been involved with technology, and some of the challenges have been access to good internet and up-to-date devices like laptops and others.
My expectations are high for this project. The beautiful thing is that I will even be able to look up for some books digitally. We have been facing challenges, including but not limited to digital illiteracy. But now we are going to encourage people to try digital books too.
Something very exciting for me in this program is animations. I've taken some classes in animations, and now I have an opportunity to explore more about it, and I hope once I have mastered it well, employment will be very easy. According to the Permanent Secretary at Ministry of ICT, the initiative aligns with the country's goal of training 500,000 individuals with advanced tech skills and 1 million in coding by 2029.
So we partnered to bring a skills program for youth to enable them with skills that can help unlock employment. And so we have multiple courses that will be provided through an online portal, but we will use the youth centers as a physical space where they can convene, have access to computers, internet, but also mentorship from coaches that we've hired to be based in these centers. So the program will run for 3 years. It will target to train about 20,000. Now, this program, the Digital Talent Program, is a part of a government vision to train 1 million coders over the next 5 years as a part of the National Strategy for Transformation. You may ask why 1 million coders? We have a young population, and we think through digital skills we can unlock many opportunities in the digital economy, be it employment, be it being able to start businesses, and use innovation to grow the economy.
This initiative will roll out in phases, starting in 5 centers located in Chiruchiro, Nyarugenje, Rusizi, and Nyagatare districts, and is expected to provide a 20% opportunity for youths to secure employment within 6 months after completing their training. William Evans, RwandaTV News.
In a hygiene awareness campaign, the residents of Ngororero district are being advised that in addition to preventing intestinal worms by maintaining the cleanliness of their food and drinking water, they should take an extra step by ensuring proper foot hygiene as well. This will help them avoid small organisms classified as parasites that enter the body through the feet and cause health issues. Healthcare workers and partners of Ngororero district agree that feet should not come into contact, that is direct contact, with the soil, as it contains many parasites ready to enter the human body.
Shoes protect the feet from different pathogens, worms, and other things that can get into the body through the feet and cause intestinal worms, cause sickness, cause disease. They can keep people out of school and they can keep people out of work. We want people to be healthy. We want a stable Africa. So we've invested in manufacturing the world shoe on the African continent in Ghana, and we brought those world shoes today to Rwanda. The world shoe is specifically designed for hygiene using the wash and wear distribution model and the reminder that you need to wash your hands, wash your feet, and wear your shoes. It's so important to have the shoes covered when you're working, when you're walking in soil that might be contaminated, when you're around a latrine or around animals. Your feet need to be protected so that your body is protected, and that's why it's so important to have shoes. We're focused on the WASH model, water, sanitation, and hygiene, and the reason for that is we're focusing on the hygiene portion. If you have clean water, if you have sanitation and latrines that you need, even if you don't, it's important to protect the feet so that your body is protected.
The World Health Organization states that intestinal worms are among the most common parasitic infections, ranking third among diseases affecting people worldwide. The World Health Organization reports that 50% of individuals suffering from intestinal infections globally are in sub-Saharan Africa. Now to Karongi district, where 156 out of 171 families affected by heavy rains that completely destroyed their homes have expressed gratitude to the government for providing them with modern houses through the CIRC project. In May of 2023, heavy rains accompanied by strong winds hit various parts of the country, claiming the lives of over 130 people. Among them, 17 were from Karongi district. Their homes were destroyed along with schools, roads, and other infrastructure. The 171 affected families were temporarily sheltered. In 2024, the CIRC project implemented by the Ministry of Emergency Management, the government began constructing homes for the residents, and over 150 houses have already been completed and handed over to their owners. Providing permanent homes for disaster victims is part of a broader initiative to help them regain stability and rebuild their lives. The acting mayor of Karongi district, Gerald Muzungu, has stated that efforts to construct houses for those affected by disasters are ongoing to ensure that no one remains in temporary shelters.
As you can observe, this is one of the mountainous districts in Western Province. It's among the district that has got a lot of mountains. It's not easy to get a suitable land for settlement. Before, people were settling without considering where there might be a risk of flooding, a risk of sliding, mountain sliding. That was the main challenges that are affecting disaster, causing disaster because of erosion, because of sliding and flooding, especially. One of the sectors that are highly affected are the sectors near the lake. One is the Rwanda and the Bwishura. All the waters that are flowing from Congo Nile Trail, they end up, if you can observe when you're moving around here, you'll find that in all the channels there is a sort of rivers. The soil around here is moving over the water. So the houses here are easily destroyed by the floods that comes from the Congo River and Mountains Trail, and that is the main cause of the damages causing during the heavy rains. Another one is land take affects rivers, blocks the rivers, and thunder. So mainly those are the related issues that affect causes most of the issues of disaster. Thunder strike. Last month we lost 4 students in the Murambi sector that were hit by thunder and lightning. So those are the key challenges that we causes some of the damages related to disaster in our district. But for mitigation purposes, we are doing terraces to reduce water flows and increase water penetration so that we avoid the risk of flooding. But we are working with the Ministry of Environment again in terms of tree plantation that may hold the soils that are very fragile, as well as in mitigating the factors like plantation where we have so steep mountains that are suited for tea plantation. Especially in that cell, we are going to have a plantation of tea plantation so that soils are not so that kind of fragile that may slide. So specifically, those are the things we are doing. But again, we do continuous assessment, especially during rainfall season, to see whether there might be need of evacuation, because there are long-term solution and short-term solution. For short-term solution, where if we identify issues, we have to do evacuation points where people might be evacuated. Then for long-term, we see how can we resolve that problem that may arise, like soil erosion, landslide, like flooding. So those are what we are working. One of the recommendations is that we still have, of course, getting a suitable settlement site in our district is not that easy. So we need to have a long-term project that may resettle people where necessary, because if you will be moving within the district, you find that you'll find one house deep in the down in the valley, where even in case of any emergency, there is no even motorcycle can't go to pick him or her.
The Ministry of Emergency Management indicates that through the CERC project, a total of 4,080 families in Karongi, Nyabihu, Ngorororo, Ruavu, Burera, and Rutsiro districts need housing support. So far, 1,888 houses are under construction, with 900 already completed. These homes are part of a broader effort to support those who lost everything due to natural disasters. Now, the Irembo Pay website is highlighting key reasons why investors and businesses in Rwanda prefer using it for payments, primarily as a solution to streamline trade transactions. That was one of the topics discussed at the Inclusive FinTech Forum, which was concluded Wednesday.
We have a very different product. It's the product that has differentiated itself in the market in the fact that it's inclusive in itself. We do have the platform in 3 languages, French, English, and Kinyarwanda. We have offline and offline payments and online payments. Offline, I mean USSD. We have our agents, so we have presence in all the 30 districts. If you want to pay a payment through Irembo Pay, you can leverage on our agents, you can use the USSD. And for online payments, we have cards, we have MNOs, Airtel Money, MTN Money, and bank transfers, local bank transfers. Building a platform, a website, they can integrate it with Irembo Pay to be able to receive payments from their clients.
icyo mbaza ni kimwe koko hari umuntu ugihagarara ku nyama muri iki gihe koko uretse nitaba umukiriya kiriya biteze
ariko tayi aho kuntoreza imyenda wibereye kuri telefone kweli
ariko ni kuwa mbere nawe wagwa wamo uracyari wose icyo nakubwiraga wa muntu niko ye umuntu w'umugabo ku bukwe bwe akambara kositimu itukura iciye n'amaboko noneho none se uyisuza
si wombwiye ngo ngwe muse
ntabwo ari ibintu avugaga
kuwa mbere kanda akanyenyeri 345 akanyenyeri 2 urwego maze nawe ugwemo. kwisondeka.
Welcome back, and now a look at news from elsewhere around the world. The US and Belarus are reportedly negotiating a deal for the release of a significant number of political prisoners in Belarus. In return, the US is considering easing some of the sanctions on the country that is closely tied to Russia. We have the details with VOA.
Recently, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced in a statement that the Belarusian government agreed to release 3 political prisoners. Andrei Kuznechik, a journalist with Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty's Belarus service, and 56-year-old U.S. citizen Nikolai Shugayev. After the release, U.S. State Department official Christopher Smith said the U.S. is working to win the release of more prisoners. But Kenneth Yalovitz, a former U.S. ambassador to Belarus, isn't optimistic the release is part of any big change in Belarusian policy.
On a humanitarian level, this is, very welcome, to see any political prisoners, released, from Belarusian jails. That's a step forward. But, there remain probably well over 1,000, political prisoners in Belarus. The basic stripes, the authoritarian dictatorship, remains very, very firmly in place.
Yalovitz says that the decisions of Belarus authoritarian leader President Alexander Lukashenko are tied to the situation in Ukraine. He thinks Belarus is reacting to the possibility of an end to the war in Ukraine and a thaw in US-Russian relations. A report in the New York Times suggests that Trump administration officials are open to a deal tying the release of prisoners to an easing of US sanctions imposed on Belarus for human rights abuses. Belarusian political analyst Vadim Mazheiko says a deal between the US and Belarus fits the logic of the sanctions policy.
I believe it's a clear illustration of how sanctions work. If Minsk is ready to make concessions, release political prisoners in exchange for easing of sanctions, it's the result of successful pressure.
Historian and political analyst Alexander Friedman agrees that sanctions have worked, but also doubts that any deal with the US could move Belarus closer to the West.
Lukashenko would not be averse to a deal with the U.S. at all. But there's, of course, the Russian factor. Even if Lukashenko wants to come to an agreement with the U.S.
Belarusian journalist and former political prisoner Olga Loika says she celebrates news of prisoner releases, but is clear-eyed about what could happen next.
We all know Lukashenko is great at not fulfilling deals, and in the end, releasing everyone will turn into not quite everyone, then no one at all. And then repressions will continue, and nothing will change.
A group of Nobel laureates recently appealed to the US president and EU leaders, asking them to take urgent and decisive actions to release all political prisoners in Belarus. Maxim Adams, VOA News, Washington.
That report has brought us to the end of this edition of the news. Before we go, however, let us take a look at the headlines again. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has urged the United Nations Human Rights Council to take a stand against hate speech and targeted attacks on the Tutsi and those perceived to be Tutsi in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The commandants of military command and staff colleges from Rwanda, Libya and Tanzania have convened for the African Conference of Commandants Troika meeting. And as we just saw, the US and Belarus are reportedly negotiating a deal for the release of a significant number of political prisoners in Belarus. Let me again thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Be sure to join Martina Avera for the next edition of the news, and I'll see you soon over the weekend. Goodbye.
byiza kuri mwe mwese.